Um, Happy Monday, everyone. Today we have Kristin from UWM on, and she's going to talk about the broker channel versus the retail channel, why it matters to realtors, and answer your questions, about wholesale lending. What is it? We are they're one of our lenders here at Tried and True Home Loans. They're probably our main lender. They have, I think they're the largest wholesale lender in the United States. And she'll go into, you know, why that makes a difference for realtor and lender partnerships. So before we start with her, we have Gary with Tried and True Home Loans, and he's going to give us a mortgage update for the week. Good morning, Gary. How's it going?
Going good, thanks, Travis. Let me share my screen. Are you seeing meeting 0804 2025?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Good morning, everyone. Like Travis said, I'm with Tried and True Home Loans. It's the sister company basically of Rise Realty. And so just a quick reminder, if you do have any clients who are looking to get pre-approved or need a second opinion on their financing, or just have questions about what's possible in the market, don't hesitate to reach out to one of us at Tried and True Home Loans. We're always happy to be a resource and help your deals move forward smoothly, quite often with the help of UWM. And then to find us, just go onto the Rise Realty back office and you'll see our link here. If you click that link, you'll come to our page and it's got all the contact information for all the loan officers there. So we do ask that you use us, for your lending, but it's your call. We have to run your business and hopefully we can do that. So moving on to the rates. Um, they're slightly better than 2 weeks ago when I was on. It's down about an eighth of a point. Last time out, I think it was July 21st I was on, it was about an eighth of a point higher. So why they're saying the rates are better at the moment is because of the jobs report that came out on Friday. It was slightly worse than expected. Nothing bad to make a difference. What did make the difference was they revised the numbers for the previous months, and those were significantly worse. It was about 250,000 jobs worse. And that's good for rates because when they see that the economy is not as hot as they thought it was, they don't have to put the pressure on inflation and growth and all that good stuff. So they can, in the bond market especially, start to lower the yields. And this translates to lower rates for us. So it's down an eighth of a point, nothing major, but it all helps. So this is your 30-year fixed. At the moment, we're what, 6 and 5/8, give or take on that. And then on the FHA, I can't see my screen because there's things blocking it. There you go. On the FHA, we're at 6 1/4, just a smidges under, again, down about an eighth. VA is following FHA pretty much all the time. So that also is down about an eighth. And then the 15-year, it did drop a little bit, but marginally. It was just a little bit over 2 weeks ago, and now it's just a smidges under. So it's not an eighth of a point, it's less than that. And then the jumbo is following the trend of the other ones, it's down about an eighth of a point. So it's about 6 3/4 on a 30-year jumbo, which is pretty good. So UWM, as Travis said, this is probably our main lender. If we can get a scenario to go with them, we normally do just because they are very good and they're also very fast. And times can be important, especially on a purchase, because you have dates, for the contingencies, and sometimes it can get a little hairy towards the cutoff time when you've got to take off those contingencies and you don't really have a definite answer from the lender. UWM does help with that. So, excuse me. So we do tend to go with them, especially on the purchase, but on the refi, that they're good too. Um, One thing that happens though, I get phone calls from lenders, and most of the time, these lenders, they'll call up and say, the reason I'm calling is because just wondering if you have some loans that you are working on that I can help you with. And thinking about it, it's a bit like you calling a homeowner saying, hey, are you thinking about selling your home? It's like, well, no. They would say no just because it's kind of, you haven't earned a true answer, so you brought no value. The thing with UWM, we have an account executive. He's Anthony, and he calls quite often. At least once every 8 to 10 days. And he also asks, do you have some loans that you were working on that I can help you with? The difference is with Anthony and with all the account executives at UWM, that's at the end of the conversation. He always starts off the conversation with some kind of value. So there's something that is really good that they offer that's not getting utilized as much by the loan officers as maybe we should be. So, this is just an example. He'll show us what the thing is. He'll explain the benefits to us, and then he'll explain how to access it in the system and all that good stuff. And so it's a benefit to us that he's called, and then at the end of the conversation, he'll then ask for the business and say, hey, do you have some loans that you are working on that I can help you with? So it all works out good. It's not just some random call. And so I was thinking about that for us, when we are having conversations with people. So um, when I started this, I didn't expect it to get as big as it did. So I've got a whole bunch of slides, and I won't have the time to go over them one by one. So I'm going to be blasting through them quite quickly. Um, but on the weeks that I do the meeting, I send out an email to you guys later on in the week, and that covers what I've covered in the meeting. It has a link to the recording of this meeting, and then it goes over what I've covered. So I hope you guys are getting this email. If you're not, reach out to me and we'll figure out what's going on. At the end of my presentation, I'll give you my contact information so you can have that in your database. But I'll send out an email and I'll have some PDFs with these slides attached. So you'll have them to go over. So basically what I'm going to cover real fast, because again, I don't have a whole lot of time, is how to deliver value that builds trust, and then simple shifts in language that make asking for the business feel natural, not pushy. And then how to plant seeds now that turn into deals later, and then how to close the conversation and ask for the business. And as always, feel free to look in the chat. Let me see what the chat is. The chat's vanished. But if you do have any questions, make sure that it's set to everyone, so that because I think the default is panelists, which is Travis and myself and Kristin. So just make sure that it's set to everyone, and then we can make this an interactive meeting. So 10 ways to offer value in a conversation. And like I said, I can't go over all the slides. I mean, it's a lot of slides. It kind of shocked me. Actually, it's 22 slides, so I'll go through real fast. So when you're offering value in the conversation, and these are just an example, excuse me, of what you can say. I would recommend that you tailor the conversations to meet your personality type and your client type and what you're trying to achieve. So these are just some of the examples that you can use, or change to fit your needs. So things like, would it help if I run the numbers on your budget, or I can set up a custom search based on your wish list? Do you want to know what updates actually increase home values in your area? Things like that. And then I can walk you through what the timeline would look like. Again, these are just some of the examples that you can use to bring value. And I won't go through each one by one because, again, I don't have time and no one is going to learn this on a Monday meeting. So it's just to give you an idea of what you can do in your conversations with prospects, leads, clients, all that, sphere of influence, all that good stuff. So there's 10 ways here, would you like a second opinion? Oops, sorry, police spam call. Number 9 is I work with a great lender who can run some numbers, no pressure. But these are some of the things that so you can do as talking points, just to add value and keep the conversation moving forward. And then language shifts that make asking for the business feel a bit more natural. So instead of saying, "Are you ready to move forward?" you can kind of play with the words a bit and make it not quite as direct. When the time feels right, I'd love to help you through the process. Is that something you'd like to explore together, or can I be your agent? It's like, would it be helpful if I put together a plan based on what you're looking to do? And again, I can't go through them all because I'm only halfway through the presentation and the clock's ticking. So I'll get these to you. But these are the language shifts that you can use instead of, are you working with a realtor? Do you have someone guiding you through this, or would it be helpful to have someone in your corner? Just to make it a little bit better for you. And so these are some of the ones, and like I said, I'll get these over to you this week. And then planting seeds that turn into deals later. You can send out the personalized homebot reports. I know months ago we had a meeting, and there's a homebot representative on the meeting going through the benefits of that. It's reasonably cheap if you don't have that many clients. The more you add, the more expensive it gets. But it's actually a very good system, especially to get listings. Or if you did make a move one day, instead of asking, "Are you ready?" say, if you did ever consider making a move, what would your dream next chapter look like? Uh, things like that. If you have a birthday or an anniversary, I know with UWM, if you do the loan with them, it gets put into their system, and then we are notified when the anniversaries show up. So that's a really good system with them. You can send heads up messages about market changes, things of that nature. I'm going to keep going through this. And then at the end of the conversation script, asking for the business. So once you've had a conversation and you've brought value to the conversation, that's the time to be asking for business. And then instead of just having a fairly simple question, try and get them to think about it. So when you ask about the question, do you know someone? Instead of saying someone, try and say maybe a friend or a family member, neighbor, co-worker. So it kind of gets their mind thinking about different aspects of their life. And if they know someone who's been thinking about buying or selling real estate. So these are some of the end of conversation scripts, which I'll get to you as well. And then once you've asked if they know someone, then you go to them and say, have you given any thoughts to making a move yourself now or maybe sometime down the road? So you start off asking about, do they know someone? And then maybe they do, maybe they don't. But after that, you go directly to them and say, have you or your family had any conversations about buying, selling, or making a change lately? And so there's different ways of saying it. These might work for you. If not, you can tweak them or create something yourself. This is basically just to give you some kind of ideas about what you guys can do yourself in your conversations. So, whatever script or language you choose to use, make sure you practice it until it feels natural. Internalize the phrasing so it becomes part of how you speak, not something you're reading like I am right now. One of the best ways to build confidence is through role play. So don't hesitate to partner up with someone. And that could be me. If you want to role play with me, I'm open to that. And then we can run through a few scenarios and tweak the language to fit your personality type. So if you do want me to help you with the role playing, or if you do have any clients looking to get pre-approved or have questions about the lending process, reach out to me. And this is my contact information. You can scan the QR code and that'll put the data straight into your smartphone, or you can take a photo of the screen or write it down, whatever works for you. But look out, I'll have an email to you later on in this week that'll cover all that I've covered right here. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna go back and stop the sharing if I can.
All right, cool.
Share,
Thanks, Gary.
share.
So I really like the language shifts part of that because that's really important in sales, and that's why that a make or break conversation starter with a lot of uh, cold calls or even lukewarm calls that you're making out to your sphere of influence or cold leads or whatever you have that whatever calls you're making that day, and I think when you hear agents that are like, oh, well, I do really good with expired listings and I make all these cold calls and things, they've shifted their language and they really do. Their call sounds different than the other 100 agents calling them that day on the expired listing day, right? So those are the agents that tend to get the appointment at least because they said something different. They just didn't come in with, well, looks like your last agent wasn't this or that. They're coming in with some value or a solution or something. So I like that. There's lots of information online about just shifting your conversation and your dialogue a little bit to help you with those sales calls to essentially become a closer, rather than just repetitive calls all day long with little to no outcome. So, all right, I appreciate that. Next we have Kristin with UWM. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Gray. How you doing?
Good. All right, so this is our first time having you on the real estate agent side. So,
Yes.
we do we have UWM on our mortgage meeting every month or every other month, usually talking about some new stuff. And obviously, we get the calls every week, but we've never really had anybody come and talk to the real estate side to show what the value is of the mortgage brokers in the industry versus the retail lending side. So this will be an
Yes.
interesting webinar.
Well, I will try and share my screen here. See if we can get this right. Uh, and then you should see a picture of me.
Yep, there you go.
Let me see if I can start presenting here. Of course, this is in my way. Bear with me 1 second. All right, let me just flipped.
All right, so we got understanding the mortgage broker.
Perfect.
All right.
Great. I'm skipping ahead here. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Um, so first off, Travis, just thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very excited to speak with the real estate agents that are on this Zoom meeting with us today. And I know we do have your account executive also joining us, Anthony Kraft, who does an amazing job for UWM. But what I really wanted to do a little deep dive into is really speaking on the value proposition that real estate agents on this call would get from utilizing a independent mortgage broker in the industry. So just doing a little research in regards to the real estate brokerage and the real estate agents. I do see a lot of retail lenders that are being utilized, which is awesome. They do a great job, but what we really want to make sure is that we're continuing to educate real estate agents on independent mortgage brokers and really the resources and the support that they would get with partnering with tried and true home loans. I think the biggest thing is just really not knowing what you don't know is really what we run into. So agents on this call, what I do and would love for you to keep in mind is my goal as an AVP of real estate agent relations, along with my partner, Sean Washington, who's been doing this for quite some time now. We really want to make sure that we're continuing to educate. So being able to partner with Tried and True and UWM, just know that we offer as many resources as we can to make sure that you continue to be successful in your role. So as I go through some of these things, definitely don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat. What I do want to offer is if this is something that interests you, which hopefully it does, just knowing that we are willing as a company, UWM, to bring you out here to really see the back room of it all and what Tried and True Home Loans receives with having a partnership with UWM and really how it adds value to your day to day and the buyers and consumers that you work with. So we are more than willing through your partnership with your mortgage broker to fly you out here. We pay for the airfare. We pay for the hotel for you to come out here for a 1 day class. And again, you can find the information, get with Travis, get with an LO that maybe you're working with over at that brokerage. But we want to continue to do what we can to support you as an agent and helping you grow. So one thing I want to just touch on is just wholesale versus retail. So I think with retail, as you know, it's a one-stop shop, right? You go and you submit that application, you're working with that mortgage banker. But really on the wholesale side and partnering with a mortgage broker, tried and true, you really get that extra level of support. And I think with banker hours, you're really looking at somebody that's in the office from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we're just kind of waiting around for answers, where you have loan officers that are available 24/7. They have resources with us and availability 24/7 where you're getting answers. And I think a lot of the technology that you will see with partnering with them is getting answers. If you have a buyer at 10 p.m. that you're trying to get qualified, they have the ability to do that for you and to get those answers. And also, when it does come to qualifying those buyers, utilizing a independent mortgage broker, they're pulling what we call one credit report, right? They're able to shop multiple lenders and not just UWM. Obviously, we want, all the business to come through us, but they have the ability and that they work with and are able to be signed up with hundreds of mortgage lenders versus you're going to a bank, they're pulling that credit report, and maybe 5 days later you find out after you've submitted that loan, your borrower's filled out the application, there are some bumps and bruises, and that retail lender is not able to approve that specific borrower. So just knowing, Travis and his team over there, they have the ability to work with multiple lenders. They're pulling one credit report. That borrower is only incurring one fee when it does come to paying for a credit report. So just kind of thinking of the additional kind of relief that creates for your consumer, for your buyer, when they know they're doing one application, they're pulling one credit report, and they're working on getting that home of their dreams. So just knowing independent mortgage brokers, they work with multiple lenders. They have the ability to shop for the best, but obviously, again, UWM's here representing, so we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to get as many loans as possible. And I think too, just knowing the support that comes with that, and what I want to, I'm not going to touch on all of this because I know we're very limited on time, and I don't want to yap off your ears for too long, but just knowing the support that comes with partnering with tried and true home loans, along with the client experience and home affordability, not only with tried and true, but really what UWM is offering you guys for your backroom support. And just knowing everything here that I'm touching on, this is not just tried and true's back room. This is you as a real estate agent, knowing that you have 3,000 underwriters available at your fingertips that are making the decisions on your loans and getting them to the closing table. I think a couple things to think about is, do you have direct communication with underwriters, with the lenders that you're using right now? Are, the people that you're partnering with able to call those decision makers and get answers right away, and have somebody that's answering their questions? I'm going to go over some teams here. But just knowing that anytime one of our clients calls into UWM, they're always getting a live person on the phone. From the welcome receptionists to the underwriters to the closers to our lending support team. So just starting with underwriting, knowing again, 3,000 underwriters that are here in-house. We don't have anybody that works remotely. We have 2.5 million square feet of campus, and hopefully you'll take advantage and come out and see it. But just knowing, and you can look at these quotes here, you can use this to your advantage. As a real estate agent, I'm overstaffed by design. The people who are the decision makers for those buyers' loans, like they answer the phone 98% of the time. And I can put a stamp of approval on that because as a company, we have what is a no call left behind policy. So basically, every time you call in, somebody's answering the phone, and underwriting actually has the highest answer rate in our company when it comes to calls answered. So 98% of the time, underwriters are answering the phone. Um, and then even to the technology, a lot of these big banks and retail lenders, like they're building out technology for themselves. They're building out technology to continue to capture business for themselves. Once you put a loan into their network, that loan is theirs. As a wholesale lender, we always want to make sure that that loan's coming back to you. And the mortgage broker that you're working with, obviously tried and true. So just knowing 1,500 team members are here building out technology to help grow not only our clients' business, but in turn the real estate agents that they work with. So we as a company invest billions and billions of dollars every single year. Very rarely do we sit silent on the technology that we roll out. I would say we're rolling out probably really big pieces of technology at least 3-4 times a year, or at least enhancing things that we already have available. So what this has really helped with is closed transactions in half the time. And you can see here, again, this is a quote you can use, through your partnership you have with your mortgage broker, tried and true. You have access to invest technology that's got billions of dollars invested into it. And something I want you to really think about also is when you look at retail lenders, like how long does it take on average to close a loan? And you can Google the stat, over 40 days on average in the industry to close loans. Through the process that we've built, through the technology that we have, and I'll just give you some real numbers from the month of July. We closed 35,000 transactions on an average of 12.9 days. So is it luck? Not at all. Definitely with a lot of the efficiencies and the technology that we have in place. So something to keep in mind. And then just knowing too, closing 800 team members in closing. And one thing that I can tell you when partnering with your mortgage broker, they could get a clear to close right now at 9:30 in the morning. I believe you guys are Pacific, at 9:30 in the morning, and you're able to get your borrowers to the closing table if you want to an hour, 2 hours later. They go right into the UClose portal. They're able to generate those documents, and your closing package is going out. And one thing really to think about also is, how many times do you utilize a retail lender and you have what's called those PTF conditions, the prior to funding. You got your borrower at the closing table, and that lender is maybe asking for an additional pay stub. You don't have that with us. You don't have that with Tried and True. Everything's PTD. We're getting everything cleared ahead of time. That way, when you're at the closing table, your title company sends over one disclosure, and we're getting that wire there for you. So just something to think about. Again, PTD, PTF, we definitely don't have the prior to funding. So no worries. When you're CTC, and your mortgage broker is able to get those closing docs out right away. And then 400 processor assist team members. And this is a team that we created here a few years ago just to really help, uh, with the transaction. Processors sometimes get overwhelmed, especially in a big refi season. Like, processors are working their tails off. And I can tell you, processors are the most undervalued person in a mortgage transaction. So if you have a processor, tell them you love them, give them a hug, because there's days that they get stressed out. But this is just an extra team we have to support them. Or, if a loan officer you're working with doesn't have a processor, they're just another support system. They collect title docs, they collect insurance docs, they collect those pesky HOA docs, condo docs, the ones that you got to pay for up front. We take care of that cost. So just doing everything that we can to make that buyer's experience, that client experience, as seamless, and easy as possible. So just knowing, again, these are things that you can sell as a real estate agent. UWM's team is your team, Tried and True's team. We are just an extension of your office and here to support you in any way that we can when you do partner with a mortgage broker. So the same with the client experience. Again, just something to think about. Maybe the retail lender that you're using, the first, the top four on this list. How long does it take for you or for the loan officer, mortgage banker that you're working with to get that application and get it to the underwriter? Sometimes it's days. Partnering with that mortgage broker, Tried and True, they can get a loan imported into underwriting in a matter of hours, and it's going to our setup team. They're getting it in front of the underwriter, 1 to 2 days on initial underwrite, 1 day on conditions. And I know a lot of the feedback just in speaking with real estate agents when they come here is, they got a loan going into underwriting on a Wednesday, hoping maybe to have an answer on Friday, but majority of times they don't. And then you got Saturday and Sunday weekends in a buyer's eyes. That's a month, right? Having to wait a weekend to try and get an answer. So just knowing 1 to 2 days on initial underwrite, 1 day on conditions. We try and do our best. I'm not going to say we try, we execute daily when it comes to consistency and making sure that these buyers are getting answers. So just something to keep in mind. And, when it comes to the technology, we are by far advanced based on other lenders that you would run into as far as retail lenders. Even though they invest in their technology, ours hands down beats anybody out there, big banks, retail lenders. And this is stuff that Tried and True has, in their hands every single day that they're able to use in getting your borrowers qualified. And I just wanted to touch on Dockless real quick because being able to give your buyer a link, have them go in, fill out the application, sign it. Like, they're not, no pen touching paper, as you can see here. It's all e-sign technology, and they can get their income verified and their asset verification all through this dockless technology. So 85% of the time, you can see here, we're digitally and instantly verifying their income. You don't have to collect pay stubs. Your loan officer don't have to collect W-2s. Real estate agent, you're not having to partner up and try and track down the buyer, late at night when they get home from work, trying to get documentation. Maybe your buyer doesn't know where their bank statements are. we're getting this all digitally, which, definitely alleviates headaches on their side. So no wet signing, everything's digital. Obviously technology's continuing to improve, and um, the pesky closing disclosure, right? The hurry up and wait disclosure. So just knowing early closing disclosure, LOs that you partner with that utilize UWM, they have the ability to get that initial CD out as soon as your file is initially approved by the underwriter. Your 3-day waiting period is long gone before you even think about getting to the closing table. And I think something to think about on this initial closing disclosure, it being out at the initial approval, this actually cuts an additional 5 days off a mortgage transaction. So just thinking, any realtor that's on this call that utilizes tried and true home loans, you're already 5 days faster than any other real estate agent out there, just by the early closing disclosure and this benefit that you have of getting this out at initial approval. Again, hopefully I'm not talking too gibberish to you, but a lot of this is just ways to cut down, make that faster. And, how awesome would it be as a real estate agent to have a CTC in 10 days? Maybe your seller doesn't want to close for 30 days, but you know what? As the buyer's agent, you're ready to go. And it'd be a great call to reach out and say, hey, we're 10 days in, we're ready to close if you are. And if not, it's okay. We'll be ready. So some things to keep in mind. Like I said, closing, get your clear to close, generate your closing package all same day. Now, depending on the time of the day, right? So if it's 4:30 in the afternoon, I wouldn't expect a same day closing. But if it's early in the day, LO gets that CTC and you guys collaborate and decide that you want to close that same day, by all means, the technology's there. They can go in and generate that final closing package. And as I touched on early, wires there. You guys aren't having to wait for authorization to fund. Everything's cleared. Everybody's happy when they walk into that title company. And then we do have some virtual and hybrid options if it's applicable. That's all based on county, but we've been having a lot of success with borrowers and buyers even closing full virtual on those homes. So, and if I'm going through this, I know I'm kind of going through this quickly just for time's sake, but definitely don't hesitate to put questions in that chat and we'll make sure that we follow up on them too. And then, once you get to closing, just knowing how many of you have seen these faces when you walk in, right? Everybody's happy. We're at the closing table. It's time to celebrate. The kids are over there crying. They're getting ready to move into their new bedrooms. So you've just completed an awesome transaction. That's really what we pitch is this is the last thing you remember. This is the last thing your buyers remember in a transaction. We want that to be the happiest moment. We want you as the real estate agent to be there, to be celebrating with them, taking pictures. You got that cool little key, you posted on your social media. You've got that loan closed for them. What we never want to see is you working with a lender where things are getting delayed, where this ends up being a miserable experience for a buyer, for you as a real estate agent, and then you end up looking like this 45 minutes into the closing. We don't we don't want any of that. We want the smiles, we want the celebration. So just knowing partnering with Tried and True, 12.89 days from submission to CTC, that's what you're looking at for an average time when submitting a loan to them. So knowing us as a lender, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that you're successful, to make sure that your buyers are happy, that they have the best experience. Because at the end of the day, the number one goal for all of us on this call is to make sure that consumer is happy and to make sure that consumer comes back to you time and time again. Maybe you help them purchase their first home. And maybe that's not the only one they purchase. They come back and they do another property with you, a second home, an investment. But just knowing we're here to support you in any possible way that we can as a lender. And again, we would love for you to be out here, to come out here with a loan officer representative from Tried and True. But the goal, again, making sure that the consumers are taken care of and that this is the best experience that they've ever had. So I'll open it up for questions. I know we still got quite a bit of time left. I didn't want to go on too long. Hopefully you guys will come out here and be a part of our 1 day class, and we kind of go from there.
Sounds good. So there are, looks like a couple questions over in the chat. Um, as far as the 1 day class, what does that look like? How would somebody get in touch to take that
Sure.
on? And what's in the class? What's that topic? Is it just a tour of the campus, or what is it?
So let me share with you. So in order for a real estate agent to get signed up for the 1 day real estate class, they would need to communicate with somebody from Tried and True to sign up for the class. We do have a 3-to-1 ratio. So for one tried and true representative, when 3 real estate agents can come out at the same time. If we want to look at something a little bit different, that's something, Travis, we could communicate at a larger level. But let me go back and share my screen here real quick. So real estate agents would just need to, and do you see the real estate
Yep.
classes here? So real estate agents just reach out to a loan officer or leader at Tried and True, and we do have 2 different 1 day real estate classes. If you haven't been here before, we want you to attend the initial 1 day real estate agent training at UWM. So these run every single week on a Wednesday. So the goal would be we would fly you out here Tuesday, probably afternoon, evening. We'd get you out here. Wednesday, you would attend our sales huddle, which is in our auditorium. That would kickstart your morning. And then you would go into the 1 day real estate class, which goes over just partnering, obviously, with a mortgage broker that brought you here, getting a better understanding of wholesale and just the resources that you have. So a little bit of what we went over today. And then the good news is we have built out another class, which we kick off on September 2nd as our first class. We have an advanced real estate agent class that is also available. So this goes over a lot of the goals, daily structure, definitely, what is your brand, what's your pitch, and then going into kind of how to go out and prospect business too, and really collaborating with the loan officer. So we got a couple different 1 day. This would be a Tuesday class, so different from the initial that's Wednesday, and then this would be a Tuesday class.
All right.
And
And another question that I think doesn't get brought up enough is client retention. So when a real estate agent is using, sometimes the buyer comes with a lender attached already to
mhm.
the real estate agent. And that's fine, but um, how can real estate agents, I guess, open their eyes to using someone else and the benefits of using a loan broker versus, that person's where they bank or something like
Yeah.
that. And why that's important to real estate agents, especially with, I know, your major competitor, and they just merged with a major competitor of ours.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it seems very easy to lose your client later on down the road because obviously they want to funnel, they want to keep all of their business in-house as well. So when you have that type of structure happening of, using a big name brand retail who may end up, shifting that client over to an in-house realtor of theirs because of their partnership, how can we compete with that with
So
UWM?
yeah, and really it all comes down to education. So obviously the more the real estate agents know and can have those conversations that really add value to the consumer, it makes it a little bit easier. So obviously we have to make sure, one, consumers trust the real estate agent that they're working with. And like you said, the buyers a lot of times come with lenders that are already attached to them. So whether they're going through the banking institution that they already work with, a PNC Bank, a Bank of America, a Chase, or they were referred to a lender. Really, it's having that educational conversation with the consumer, like, hey, I understand you already have financing, which is awesome. Like that's the main step of this whole process. But I would be doing a disservice if I didn't have you speak to the mortgage broker that I work with. And the reason I want you to speak with them is because they have a lot of other options when it comes to mortgage lending and tailoring something that maybe meets your needs. And mortgage brokers have cheaper interest rates, which means the buyer has more buying power or even a cheaper house payment, just depending on the way they want to go. So it's really continuing to educate and making sure real estate agents that are on this call that you're just able to um, make sure that the consumers, the buyers are exploring all of their mortgage options and referring them to tried and true as another financing option. And by all means, if tried and true doesn't give them an option they want to move forward with, at least you educated them on having that conversation. But I promise you, they're going to get a better deal.
Yeah. And one of the things I like that UWM does is, we get a notification as the loan officer. If we close a loan with a buyer, we're talking about a purchase here, and a year, 2 years down the road, they have a mortgage inquiry. You want to make sure that, could it be a refi that they're looking for? Yes, potentially, but are they potentially looking to purchase another house, after a couple years? And that does happen. Um, more than you would think. Usually
Hmm.
because of the prices of the homes, they do stay in the homes for a considerable amount of time. But if it's a first time buyer, maybe they just had a baby, something like that, they need to move up. Maybe they have a job relocation. So if they have a mortgage credit inquiry, we do get a notification of that. And that is a time for our loan officer to reach out. But also, if that, through that discovery process of that call, we find out it's not a refi, it's they're looking to purchase another home, we can bring that back to the real estate agent very easily then. It's not going to get siphoned off to whoever is in rotation at, the retail side. So that's something,
100%.
that, yeah, to definitely think, and we do see those come through. So
And even to take it a step farther, there's technology available where, a real estate agent brings you uh, a buyer, you guys close on the home, and then say a year from now, 2 years from now, that buyer lists that property for sale. You have the ability to get an alert that, hey, this property was listed, and now you can go back to the real estate agent. You guys can collaborate on how do we make sure that we get that buyer back under our wing for financing. Maybe how does that real estate agent get that listing? Like maybe there's a way to finagle some stuff there too. But the goal is to always make sure that the consumers that you're working with on either end, from a real estate agent or LO, we're doing everything that we can as a lender to funnel that back to you. And
yeah,
we don't have retail. We are, like Travis said at the beginning of the call, we are strictly wholesale. We don't have a loan officer. So if we don't have, you guys bringing us business, we don't have business. So we
yeah.
rely on
And
that.
that is the major difference with UWM for sure. Um, is yes, you don't have a brokerage attached to you. You don't have retail. So it's about supporting us, the mortgage broker, but also our agents as well. So um, you don't need to worry about those types of things happening where, you know, maybe the consumer came with somebody already, they ended up closing with them. And there's a high likelihood that you're not going to retain that client in the years to come if you don't have really good follow-up and you're not in constant communication with that client, because that's what they start doing is they start marketing to the client from both ends. Um, directly after closing. So that's not something you'll see with, UWM. So that's a huge benefit for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Gary did answer Helen's question I see in the chat. These classes are here in our UWM campus. Again, you'd come out and get to just, see it all, see what's in your back pocket by partnering with Tried and True. Tried and True is a client of ours, but everything that you come here and that you see, you're able to sell as a real estate agent. This is just an extension for you also.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're about at time, so I really appreciate you
Perfect.
coming on and kind of, speaking to the real estate side. They don't get to hear from, mortgage brokers too much as far as on, on the lending side and things like that. So it's nice to have a partnership where you're willing to come on and talk to the real estate agents too and answer their questions about lending, because even if you're not a lender or have a lending license, you do need to know the mortgage business at least a little bit, just so you can, stay dangerous. So, all
No,
right.
absolutely. And hopefully we'll see some of your faces out here very soon.
Yep.
And we'll be able to shake some hands and go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, everybody, have
Awesome.
a good week, and we'll see you next week. And if you have any questions, always give us a call. We're around. We'll see you later.
Bye.
All right, bye.